That being the case, you gotta come right down to the middle of Whitmore Circle. And if you need an additional 300 acres, you gotta come clear over to Marshall to get 300 additional acres. And with $300 million, there's your eminent domain right there. It's really interesting how anybody can come into our community and get eminent domain over us, but you never see anybody go into Chenal and get eminent domain. You never see anybody go into Chenal or go anywhere out west to get eminent domain, but they always seem to be able to get eminent domain for our community. That's really interesting. When you start to talk about the issues that impact wards 1 and 2 directly, none of them are in this program. The city is always talking about public safety, but let me tell you something really interesting about public safety. They have a great program there called the OK program. Any of y'all familiar with that? OK program is a great program. Great program. Let me tell you what it does. Black police officers work with young black men in wards 1 and 2 to keep them off the streets. A wonderful guy by the name of Willie Davis and John Nowden work in that program. They work constantly to work with these young men and keep them out of trouble. But guess what? Nothing's in here for that. They didn't even mention it. Nobody's even talked about it. Nobody talks about the OK program. I think the OK program is a great program myself. But we'll get back to that later. Secondly, they keep talking about public safety. They keep talking about it. Just last year, they closed alert centers in wards 1 in particular. Guess what? It's not in here. But you know what they just told us? If we don't vote for this tax, our neighborhood's going to look a lot different. That's really insulting. When I left my neighborhood, I drove by 6 boarded up houses, 12 weed lots. So I'm going to have, what, 13 boarded up houses? I'm going to have 7 weed lots? How much different can my community look? That's insulting to us to tell us that if we don't vote for this, our community's going to look a lot different. Secondly, when you start to think about, again, I'm going to go back, and so you start to think about the issues that impact wards 1 and 2. Let's talk about those young men who die in our community every day. There's nothing in here for them. Not one thing. Adding more police is not going to stop them from killing each other. That's not going to do it. We have to get serious about this. Unfortunately, none of our city directors, they never have any kind of, they never have a moratorium where they say, you know what, we're going to put this to rest. That's never been done. Not by our black leaders or our white leaders. So I'm not calling anybody in particular out. I'm just saying that when you start talking about the issues that really impact our community, they're not in here. None of them. Now they do have things in here to displace us, talking about the state fair and talking about the research park. Those things, if we vote for this tax is a tax to displace residents of wards 1 and 2. Plain and simple. You talk about the research park, and everybody wants to talk about the research park. The research park's a great thing. It's a great thing. But the unfortunate thing about research parks is not one city has ever funded a whole research park. Not one. The unfortunate thing about Little Rock is we always want to be out front on something that really don't benefit anybody. The research park, not going to benefit anybody. Parking the yards ordinance is another example of being out front on something that doesn't benefit anybody. Again, let's send a message to City Hall saying you have to take the issues that impact us seriously. Because unfortunately, they're currently not doing that. They're not doing that. I'm going to go back to neighborhood programs. It's a great program. Great program. Andre, great director of neighborhood programs. But when you start talking again about the issues that impact wards 1 and 2 now, if you go down to environmental court, I guarantee you that 90% of the people in environmental court are from wards 1 and 2. But let's take a look at this list and see if there's anything in here to help those people who are in environmental court with some of the issues that they're having with their homes. Because again, you're in a ward that the median income is $24,000 for the whole ward. Not a couple of blocks of the ward, but the whole ward. Now, every year, the housing and neighborhood programs, they get money from the federal government to do repairs to seniors' homes. Isn't that great? Every year they round the money. But guess what? How much money is in there for this? Nothing. Come on, y'all. Get serious with us. Don't do us like this anymore. This is insulting to the people, to the residents of wards 1 and 2. And if we vote for this, we will send them a message that simply says to them, you can continue to treat us this way because we still gonna do what y'all want us to do. Today we have to stand up and send them a serious message. Let them know. No more. If you're not gonna really address our issues, then we're done with this. Now they're gonna threaten us, they're gonna threaten you and tell you that if you don't do this, you're not gonna have police and fire, and we're gonna have to lay off all these people, and oh my God, it's gonna be so sad. Well, guess what? Police and fire, well, I'm not gonna say the fire department, they show up, they have nothing else to do. But the police department, if you call them right now, I guarantee you that it'll probably take them an hour and a half to get here. If they even show up. So now you're going to tell me that it's going to be a little bit different. So instead of coming in 1 hour, it's going to take 2. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Now, all the city employees are going around. I really feel bad for them because they have to push this garbage on us because they have to, because they've been told if they don't vote for this, that they're going to lose their jobs. I think that's really unfortunate. Even though only 55% of them live in the city, I still think that's really unfortunate. Less than 55%, I'm sorry. Now, when you start talking about fire and police, because everybody likes to talk about fire and police because those are the sacred cows of city government. Fire and police, they can do no wrong. And that's a good thing. I'm going to go back to them. It's a very good thing. Fire and police are very good. But why would you hire 27 officers that you couldn't afford to pay for? Then you get a tax. Well, not only are you going to pay for those 27 you got, but you want to add some more. You can't even pay for the 27 you got. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Maybe.
No.
I apologize. Now, I'd like to talk about Parks and Recs for just a second. Parks and Recs is probably the best piece of this thing. Parks and Recs and Zoo is probably the best piece. Parks and Recs, we have, I'm going to take a wild stab. I could be wrong, y'all. I'm going to say we have 10 parks in Wards 1 and 2. I'm going to say 10. I look at this list, I only see 1. But every time you hear somebody talk about this tax, they talk about quality of life. How parks are part of quality of life. But guess what? Ain't number 1 our parks in here. Nobody say anything about that. I'm opposing this tax for one fact. You can't continue to disrespect our ward and our community and not address the issues that directly impact us. This does not directly, if you're going to have a $500 million tax, okay? I could ride with this. If you're going to have this tax, but you're going to really address the issues that impact our community. This doesn't impact our community. This doesn't impact our community. In a sense, it's going to impact our city. Because if you look down here at the research part and you start talking about the port, she did make a very good point about people staying outside the city. Well, see, the funny thing about that is, guess what? She's asking us to pay for all the infrastructure in the port. All of it. She's not asking anybody in Benton or Bryan or Beatty or Cabot or Conway or Searcy to pay for it. She's asking all of us right in this room to pay for all the infrastructure. But again, they're going to give 69% of the jobs to somebody else. But we're going to pay 100% of the cost. That makes sense to y'all? Don't make sense to me. Maybe y'all know something I don't know. That's why I say it's really impossible to vote for this tax. Now let's go down to these cataracts and all this other stuff. That's even more depressing. For the simple fact, you're going to ask us to you're going to charge us a tax to get something we should have already had. That's crazy. You want to give us a route we should have already had, but to get the route, we got to pay for the tax. To get our streets resurfaced, we got to pay for the research part. It's kind of like they're holding a gun on us and we're standing there in the middle of the street and they're saying, all right, if you want this, then you got to do this to get this. No in-betweens. Now me, I think that what would be easier for everybody involved, if you just get a simple 3/8 cents tax, because let's be honest, the city does need money. They're in financial trouble. They do need money. But she just said they have a $1.2 million shortfall right now. Let me tell you what's really interesting about that. Clay, correct me if I'm wrong, but a couple of years back, when they were going after the Clinton Library, the city decided to get ahead of everybody else and we're going to go ahead and purchase some land. And instead of doing a typical bond issue where they do a bond issue and allow us to vote on it, you know what they did? They didn't do that. They charged it toward the general fund. So every year, $739,000 comes out of the general fund. Every year.
That's right.
Is that right? Okay. Not only that though, but every year we get a bill from the Clinton Library saying we owe them another $500,000 for maintenance. Clay?
That's right.
If you add the numbers up, I'm not good at math, but I think that comes with $1.2 million, don't it?
Yep.
Oh, that's something else.
The public library.
Huh?
Look at the statue. That's the public library.
Yeah, $1.2 million.
That's because it's a library. Look at the statue.
$1.2 million.
Look at the statue.
Regardless of what you want to say it is.
Look at the label. Look at the label.
Regardless of what you want to say it is, that's still $1.2 million, Mr. Lowe.
Look at the
Still $1.2 million.
Continue, Robert. Continue.
Now, just in all fairness, there's a lot of other things that they've done. They keep talking about the communication system upgrade. Everybody keeps talking about that. They keep talking about that. They've been talking about that for a while. What's kind of ironic is in the 2004 bond issue, Now, when we first started talking about this, they needed to upgrade to go from
Analog.
analog to digital. Well, now they say they need a new tower. Before, I think somebody said they need new radios. I mean, that's why I say every time you hear this thing, you always hear something new. I want to show y'all something right there. It says Bruce Moore. It says Bruce Moore right there, right there. First item, it says community-wide expenditures include the police and fire communications upgrades. $8.275 million. 2004. Now, all I'm gonna say to y'all is one thing, and I hope y'all take this home with y'all. The trust deficit with the city government is far greater than the budget deficit. Can you tell me how they're gonna spend $8 million and now all of a sudden they need some more money over there? Now let's read through this real quick. This is the 2004 bond issue. You ready? Citywide expenditures include the police and fire communications upgrade, $8.275 million. Fire training academy, and this also goes to when they start talking about fire and police and your insurance is going up. Insurance is not going to go up or go down just because we don't pass it. Just because we don't pass it, they don't build those additional fire stations. Doesn't have anything to do with it. Your ISO ratings. Most insurance companies don't even use them anymore. But again, they're trying to scare us into voting for the tax. Fire training academy, $6,348,000. Early warning system. Early warning, $1.7 million. Early warning. Then we get to the creme de la creme. Where is it? What is my 311 and police training improvements? 311 system. 911, 311 communications and call takers. Okay, so it's a little bit different, but again, in 2004, system and police training improvements, $1.189 million. And again, let's go to multi-ward traffic signals and resurfacing projects, $1.352 million. I don't know about y'all, but something about it give me some answers. That don't make no sense to me. 7 years later, we got to come back and do all this again. We're doing something additional. We're going some different places. And what I really like is they talk about they spent $10 million in Ward 1. And I have been going around saying for the longest that wasn't true because the river market was more than Ward 1. It was more to Ward 1 than the river market. But as I looked through this form, I realized I was incorrect. They did actually spend $10 million in Ward 1. They did. But in the interest of time, I won't read you all this. But I will give you a little quick overview. You ready? MacArthur annexation, $14,000. MacArthur HVC, $41,000. MacArthur Lighting, $36,000. Riverfront Playground, $138,000. Riverfront Water Feature, $18,000. Wow. Fletcher Sports Courts, $20,000. Fletcher Supply Facility, $4,000. MacArthur Supply Facility, $5,000. Riverfront Supply Facility, $19,000. Dunbar Greenhouse, $10,000. River Park Gate, $7,000. MacArthur Arsenal Windows, $30,000. You know the common thing here? Okay. But I just want to say that again, it's really important that we vote against this tax because we have to send a message to city government and let them know that there are issues in the black community, wards 1 and 2, that need to be addressed. They're not addressing this bond issue. I mean, if you're going to ask for a $500 million bond issue, then you need to address our issues. It's just the way I feel. Now, if you don't agree with me and you think that this is a great thing, then you vote for it. But every time you vote for this, I want you to